Hello, greetings and welcome to the Engineering a Sustainable Food System webinar. We are very pleased that you are able to join us today as we recognize the World Engineering Day for Sustainable Development. The World Engineering Day for Sustainable Development is a special day to recognize the contribution of engineers to solving global issues across the world. And we see that's a very important day at IntelliDigest that we recognize the importance of engineering a sustainable food system through this webinar. So thank you very much for signing up for the webinar and joining us today. When we think about engineering, we usually think about building bridges, skyscrapers, and other large-scale projects. I'm Dr. Ife Wakano. I'm the CEO of IntelliDigest. With a background in engineering, I understand the importance of taking a system thinking to addressing the challenges we have across the food system. Now, when we talk about challenges across the food system, what does it call to mind for us? We're looking at issues around over 900 million people suffering from hunger across the world. We're considering issues around obesity, where we know that over 1 billion people are currently faced with obesity issues. We're also looking at issues around soil degradation, where over 30% of the soil health is degraded. And we're also looking at issues where we're having massive increase in non-communicable diseases. So it's very important that as engineers, we can bring in system thinking to how we can improve the food system. Engineering the food system is crucial to delivering a sustainable food system that provides access to good food for more people, improving their health, and also restoring our environment. Engineering a sustainable food system involves establishing the infrastructure that support food production, processing, preservation, distribution, preparation, and also help to address issues that occur across the food system. And this can only be achieved by building an in-depth understanding of the chemical and physical properties of food, the effects of food processing on food quality and safety, and the design of food packaging and storage systems. All this needs to be factored in into how we can evolve and engineer systems that also work for us. Now, moving on, engineering a sustainable food system involves establishing the infrastructures that support food production, processing, preservation, distribution, preparation, and consumption. The food system is very complex, as you can see, and it depends on many different factors to work properly, including weather, prices differences, and consumer demand. Food is a very important aspect of our economy and the society. Food is central to human life, and it has always been a source of sustenance and pleasure. But more importantly, as we head towards 2050, our food system will need to supply safe, affordable, and nutritious food for over 9 billion people around the world. This demands that we reduce and optimize the use of resources such as energy, water, and land. In fact, many of the sustainability goals outlined in the United Nations sustainable development goals actually are very much related to the food system. But it's concerning that the current food system are highly integrated and globalized and present a very low resiliency, which means that we are constantly faced with a lot of issues across the food system, having to sustain global stresses such as economic, political, and natural disruptions and disasters. So, for us to ensure that we can address food insecurity and we can increase the resilience of our food system, especially as we build back better from COVID-19 and also understanding the challenges we faced in terms of the global supply chain within this period, it's important that we look into how we can develop those infrastructures that can enable us evolve such a resilient food system that ensures people have access to good food in a way that improves their health, restores our environment, and actually sustains food security. So for us to do this, is very important that we can explore solutions, especially innovative solutions that can help us address these complex challenges we have across the food system. And in doing this, we need to design more sustainable processes that uses less energy and uses also less water. We need to look into how we can improve the shelf life of products in a way that it doesn't really look at increasing the produce to be used for standard shelf life products, but looking at doing this sustainably in such a way that the focus is on ensuring that people have access to good food and where there is an excess of food. So we focus more on extended shelf life for the surplus produce rather than designing extended shelf life for new products. So one of the key challenges we have within the food system is where we have intensive agricultural processes that has been designed to supply the demand of extended shelf life produce, which then lacks the key nutrients that is essential for human well-being. So what about rethinking the system and rethinking the process where we focus on creating more localized, more healthy more fresh produce to the populace, but looking at where there are excesses, that those excesses can then be processed and extend the shelf life so they can be used areas where they are needed. And I think this kind of system rethink is very important when we face this kind of global food system challenge, that we then start looking more inwards in terms of how do we strengthen, how do we make our local food systems more resilient in a way that we can support more localized production, more access to fresh produce. And this is not just about resilience of the food system, but also improving access to good food and good nutrition for the wider populace. So that's one aspect of what kind of systems and what kind of technologies, what kind of innovations we help us to deliver this. Now, when we talk about technology innovations, we also looking at process innovations and system innovations to enable us make this a reality. So aside developing this kind of uh, system approach to rethinking the food system, and we really have talked about use of less energy and use of less water. How do we then evolve technology solutions that can help us deliver on use of less energy and use of less water? I think this can be achieved by more food-related businesses adopting renewable energy and also optimizing their processes. And optimizing processes can only come from an in-depth understanding of process and where it is important or where it is possible to cut down on energy requirements and optimize the process, and where those energy must be used, that we explore renewable energy sources such as solar power, solar powered system. We explore resources like wind, and we also explore resources like geothermal energy. I think this has got a lot of role to play in controlled environmental agriculture, that we are able to, because the nature of controlled environmental agriculture is that it's very much energy intensive. So if we could adopt and use more renewable energy in these processes, that would be quite useful. And also the wider activities we do within the food system, whether in terms of preserving or storing or processing, that we explore opportunities to reduce, optimize processes so that we remove any process that is energy intensive, and then explore other opportunities where we can use less energy. But we also talk about reducing energy. We're looking at, where we can reduce the use of thermal technologies and explore opportunities with UV lights and also ultrasound systems, where the comparative energy saving is there and also added value can be achieved. So these are the things we can achieve, knowing that the advances in technology is going to help us to move the needle massively. We also of importance is improvement of nutritional profile of foods, and how we can do this is actually increasing diversity in the food we eat. Currently, most are stable food items, with just about 5 of them. Talk about soya, maize, wheat, and rice, and these are the things that we currently have, high volume of that, and most of these have been massively genetically modified. And there's been a lot of research coming out highlighting the health implication and health impact and allergy impact of this massively genetically modified produce. And the key aim now is, rather than trying to focus on these 5 stable crops, but looking wider and seeing that a lot of diversity in different produce, in different crops that we can bring into the food system. And also looking also into how we rear our livestock. How can we improve the health and the quality of the livestock that we have, without necessarily having to grow a lot of this genetically modified produce to feed them on that. Especially moving away from a lot of the intensive farming systems and moving more into agroforestry, where you can actually integrate livestock production with a lot of the crops which it can be connected with that, and also looking at how you can improve on crop rotation and miscropping around vegetable crops and fruit crops. I think a lot of work is being done in that area now, and where the technology comes in here is looking at how omics analysis, bioinformatics, when we talk about genomics, metabolomics, can we use it for um, exploring and identifying those crops that got better traits that we can use, rather than focusing the use of these advanced technologies in genetic modification? Can we also adapt it in selecting traits that are better and can improve the health of people, and also the species of different crops that can better be used in miscropping and crop rotation in a way that we can improve yield, also improve pest resistance, so we can manage pest more effectively rather than using pesticides, which means that integrated pest management can become a reality in our time, and we can actually cut down on a lot of the chemicals we use in food production. I think adopting technology innovation in this respect, especially with advanced bioinformatics and omics analysis, we go a long way to improving the quality of the produce that we get from the farm. And this ultimately will also improve the shelf life of the produce and also improve access to nutrition to more people. So, adopting technology in this way has got a massive advantage for the future. Another thing is looking at how we can design production systems, both from production to distribution to consumption, in a way that reduces supply chain challenges, but also ensures that more people have access to good food. There can be policy issues that will help to drive this and make it work, especially where government will take on the responsibility that new developments should have created within those development areas for food production, while also ensuring that our rural areas are further engaged in agroforestry, as well as also agrotourism, in a way that also builds capacity within this region without taking away their key source of revenue. Like I said initially at my start, the food system has got a lot to do with our health and well-being as a society, as a cultural being, as well as also within the economic, micro and macroeconomics of the wider society. So whatever we develop within the food system should be able to accommodate this different aspect of the food system. And I think a lot of these technologies we talk about in terms of quantum computing, IoT, artificial intelligence, data analysis, green chemistry, and omics analysis, I've dwelled on it so much, will have massive impact in the way we produce food for the future. But I think if we need to adopt these technologies within the food system, we need to take a holistic and a sustainable approach to it to make sure that it improves our health and well-being. It ensures that more people have access to good food in a way that improves their health without necessarily impacting negatively on the environment. So I'm hoping that this gives you some idea and some thinking about how the food system may be, and hopefully I'm very glad that we are constantly engaging with different researchers and also engaging with young people who are keen to drive changes within the food system so that we can continuously support them. And I'm pleased to have that a lot of the global agri-food techpreneurs are on this program. Part of what we do with global agri-food techpreneur program is to highlight this changes within the food system, work with different stakeholders to support them as they make changes within their countries and within the food system. So I'll be very pleased to introduce the Global Agri-Food Techpreneur participants for the 2024 cohort while I round off my presentation. So I think in a nutshell, this presentation is geared towards stimulating our thinking around what technology can do within the food system and how technology can help us to deliver a sustainable food system. And for us, we're very pleased to be working at the forefront of cutting edge research within the food system, but we are very keen to also ensure that whatever the developments that is evolving will be developed in such a way that it adds value to the society. It also adds value, especially in terms of nutritional value for consumers, for households who are going to take up this food produce. And more importantly, is also helping people rethink the way they engage with food, and also understanding that the little things we can do, even if it's just planning our meal and working with other stakeholders across the food system, we go a long way to ensuring that we can evolve a food system that really delivers on sustainability and helps more people have access to good food. So thank you very much for joining us today. We'll have fantastic speakers who'll be speaking to us about the different things they're doing within their sectors and also within their organizations to help drive changes within the food system, especially around technology innovation. And before we go into the panel session, if you look at the agenda we have on the website, you find out that we're going to announce the Global Agri-Food Tech Perennial participants after this presentation. And then after that, we'll have an exclusive conversation with Sir Professor Jeff Palmer. Hey, and once we finish that, we can go into the panel session. So thank you for being with us today, and I hope you find this discussion about the future of technology innovation in the food system relevant for you. So without spending much time on this, I'm just going to introduce you to the Global Agri-Food Techpreneur Program. So the Global Agri-Food Techpreneur Program, it's a 12-month business development program within the agri-food sector, and is geared supporting young graduates to engage and transform the food system within their countries. And we work with different stakeholders across the food system. In the process, we proudly grateful for the contribution of the Royal Bank of Scotland to this program, and we also want to recognize the support from Scottish Edge and also other supports that we have to deliver the program. So we're really keen to see the program continue to grow and give value to participants in the program, especially young graduates who are keen to address food system challenges in their country. And we always looking forward to partner with other different organizations. So please do reach out to us if you see this is an opportunity that can add value to your organization. We'll be very keen to have a discussion with you. So thank you for staying on and sharing these amazing participants for the 2024 cohort as we share them with you.
Well, I'm a botanist. I did a botany degree at university, and I've worked on plants all my life from 1964 when I started my PhD, and therefore I have a high respect for plants, because that's especially cereals. And cereals are, of course, very important historically. It is stated that how the Romans moved around from Europe to Asia was because they had cereals. So they could move and plant and harvest and move. So they always had a constant food source. So cereals are very old in terms of domestication. And my research was mainly on barley, although I've done some work on wheat and the African grain sorghum. The barley work I did it's interesting that when I was at my first university doing botany, we never studied cereals because cereals were regarded as man-made and thus not scientifically important in terms of looking at the behaviour of natural plants. And that's one of the things which has changed. And also looking at fruits like these, they were not studied in any great detail because they're regarded as man-made, because they've been cultivated and domesticated, etc. However, my research was on barley, and I had to learn a lot about it because I knew nothing. And one of the things I did was to look at how the barley, when it was germinated, that process is called malting. So you take a barley grain and you germinate it, and at the end of that germination period, it digests itself internally. And of course, the grain produces enzymes that digest it's called the endosperm, but it's just the food reserve. And the food reserves in cereals are starch, protein, and gums. And the gums are very important because one gum especially, you'll see it on the cereal packages, it's from oats. This gum is called beta-glucan, and it reduces cholesterol. So cereals have also negative aspects like gluten, but they have very positive aspects like glucans. These are gums which help to remove cholesterol. So my research on barley was to look at from the beginning of germination to the end when malt was produced. And there were concepts of how the grain did it. And the old concept was that the germ digested the food reserves and turned them into sugar and amino acids, which yeast use for fermentation. So the grain is providing nutrient for yeast, which then change sugar in the grain into alcohol. And that's the essence of the malting, brewing, distilling processes. Now the concept of how the grain did it was not well known. And in science, you cannot effect good technology if you don't know the science very well. So anything works, whether it's your car or whether it's an industrial process. If it doesn't work very well, it's that the science isn't right. And the more correct the science is, the more efficient it works. So finding out the science is critical, and that's a concept that I've used. And in my book on cereals, I've got it at the front. It says, technology is science that works. So I had to find out the science of the grain, to really look at it to say, how does it do all this stuff? Going from starch, protein, to amino acid, sugars. and vitamins. The grain produces a lot of vitamins too. The general concept was that it's the germ that did it. And I had a very close look, looking at the grain every 2 hours. 2 hours for 24 hours every day for about, God knows how long, but a long time. And I came to the conclusion that the germ didn't do it. It was, believe it or not, the bran. And that's the skin of the grain. And that caused a great stir worldwide because everybody believed that it was the germ. It's very complicated in that the germ produces a hormone, and this hormone goes to the bran and tells the bran to produce enzymes. And that was my concept. And I then, quite logically, when I left the university, finished my PhD, I went to work in industry, in a scientific laboratory. And I thought, if the bran did it, then if I could stimulate the bran quickly or early, because the grain takes 7 days to digest itself. But if I could stimulate the bran on day one, instead of waiting for the germ to do it slowly, then the grain should process quicker. And that's exactly what I did. I found that I scarified the grain, and it allowed the hormone to get in, because the hormone wouldn't get in. The pericarp, the fruit wall, this there,
Yep.
it's got a fatty layer on the outside, and that fatty layer, that's what protects the fruit. If you damage that, the fruit rots. Mm-hmm. So I had to damage that skin on the grain, because cereal grains are fruits, they're not seeds. and I did that, and it worked. And I started with 1 grain, and then I went to 10 grams, and then we built a machine, ultimately, that did 10 tons an hour. 10 tons an hour. So that's the importance of science driving technology, because it worked with 1 grain, and the science was right for 1 grain. It's also right for 10 tons an hour. And one of the biggest breweries in Britain, called Bass, and the other one was Allied Breweries, I know Bass had 8 machines, braiding machines, and each machine was doing 10 tons an hour. They were running 24 hours a day. So that's a story of science driving technology. And what is even more important than that was that I read a scientific paper recently, and there was this controversy whether it's the germ or the bran. The point is now the bran is accepted as is the tissue that has the enzymes that delivers the digestion. And this is work in Australia and other parts of the world. They're using the bran as a source, because it is pure, it is 1 cell type, the bran, and which is unusual, because within this fruit there are probably different cell types, and in your liver, the liver is 1 cell type in certain areas, and they can use that for research. But if they took the skin, it's not 1 cell type. And for doing research to find out how cells really work, it's always best to work on 1 cell type, so you're not getting mixed results. And the research now being done on the bran is to look at how hormones influence changes in cells, because that happens in our body. And the bran is now being used to look at how hormones influence cell behavior. So it started with barley grain been used to make malt, and it's now gone to very complex biochemistry. So, that's a very good example that if you get the science right, it drives technology. And therefore with your work, it's the same. If you understand the science, and the science is about, using the food waste to produce specific compounds, whether they're calcium or potassium or phosphate or whatever. And it's used for making fertilizers which are natural as opposed to using chemicals. So, I support anything which is science-based and it's making technology that benefits humanity.
Fantastic presentation by Sir Professor Jeff Palmer. Sir Professor Jeff Palmer is a Professor Emeritus in the School of Life Sciences at Hertford University in Edinburgh, Scotland. He's also a human rights activist. He discovered the barley abrasion process while he was a researcher at Hertford University under the guidance of Professor Dr. Anna M. MacLeod. In 1998, Palmer became the fourth person and the first European to be honored with the American Society of Brewing Chemists Award of Distinction, considered the Nobel Prize of Brewing. In 1989, Sir Jeff Palmer became the first Black professor in Scotland, becoming a Professor Emeritus after he retired in 2005. He was knighted in the 2014 New Year Honours, and I was very pleased to have a seat and discuss with Sir Professor Jeff Palmer on his innovation in brewing and what that means for science and technology. And I'm so pleased to share it with you today. And Sir Professor Jeff Palmer is also so pleased that you're able to engage with his work. And I do hope you find some inspiration from that discussion and also some insight on what technology and innovation means for the food system. As we recognize the World Engineering Day for Sustainable Development, I'm so pleased that you're able to join us today. I had to cut short the video where we were showcasing the global agri-food techpreneurs. I think I didn't mention that we received over 500 something applicants for this cohort in 2024, and we are very keen to support a lot of you. Very few we're not able to make it through the program. We do hope they can check out the program next year and check if they can meet the requirement. But for those of you who were able to make the requirements, we are so pleased to support you and work with you in the program. So thank you very much for joining us today as we recognize World Engineering Day for Sustainable Development, as well as showcase the Global Agri-Food Techpreneur Program participants for the 2024. We will be taking a short break at this point. Please do stay on because we have amazing speakers who will be sharing more insights on the work they have done. And I do hope that brings a lot of inspiration and also a direction in what you're doing across the food system from farm to fork. There's so much to be shared going forward, and we really want you to stay back with us and enjoy that. During the break, we'll also continue to showcase the Global Agri-Food Techpreneur participants. So please grab your tea, coffee, drink, and then stay on to identify and engage with these amazing young graduates who are keen to address food system challenges in their countries. I really appreciate you staying on with us today. And I'm going to see you very soon. Thank you very much.
Did you know? 1 in 5 deaths every year is linked to malnutrition. Agri-food production systems contributes over 30% of global greenhouse gas emission. And we waste over 1.3 billion tons of food every year. While we waste a greater part of our time shopping for food we do not need and growing food that we end up wasting. These are some of the biggest food sustainability problems facing the planet today, but it's become easy just to say, what can I do? This is where the World Food Tracker comes in. Through the World Food Tracker, it has now become easier for you to plan to save. By planning your food diary on the World Food Tracker, you will discover locally produced food that nourishes your body and improves your health with zero impact on the environment. And here's how it works. You make your food diary using recipes from the World Food Tracker. And the World Food Tracker will use your recipe details to identify the food items you will use in the meal preparation, then provide you an insight on nutrient composition of the food and the shopping list. Through the Plan to Save campaign, we work with local food producers to ensure that food is produced sustainably. By sharing your weekly shopping list with local farmers, you are helping them prioritize sustainable food production, ensuring high-quality food produce and eliminating food waste. It all starts from your food diary. Join other users of the World Food Tracker around the world to plan your food and care for your health, your wealth and your environment. Together we can make good food more available to more people and evolve a world where no child goes to bed hungry.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back from the break. I hope you had a good time to engage with the participants of the Global Agri-Food Techpreneur Program 2024. Amazing graduates from across the world looking to solve food system challenges in their country, catering across the food system from farm to fork, whether in terms of food production, supplying of materials, technology innovations, so many skill sets, so many interests, so many passion that you can see from these participants, and we're really keen on looking forward to working with them. Over 500 participants, bringing us to an over 1,000 participants that have taken part in the Global Agri-Food Techpreneur Program. In the debut year, we had over 100 participants, followed up by over 600 participants in 2023 cohort, and now we have over 500 participants in this 2024 cohort, and we look forward to building that capacity going forward. So thank you for viewing them and seeing the faces who are going to be participating in this program. Now we running a bit behind schedule, but I think we have our speakers all lined up to engage with us at this time. First who on the list is just give me a minute, is Dr. Jensen. So I'm just gonna bring up Jen's profile at this time. So I will. Jens is a researcher in STFC Scientific Computing Department, SCD. His research interests include large-scale data science, bringing data science to the edge, data security, and enabling multidisciplinary global data processing. James also has a background in mathematics and computing, statistics, and research software engineering. James has worked with SCD's machine learning group and the European EOSC project. He's a champion of the STFC Food Network with a keen interest to work with SFN Pros, which is the science STFC Food Network group to promote STFC wide range of data science expertise to help improve animal welfare, food quality and safety, and reduce food waste and environmental impact. It's been a pleasure to have been a champion of the STFC Food Network alongside James, and I know of the amazing work he's been doing using advanced technological solutions to help within the food system. So now I will hand over to James. Please, we will really love to hear from you and get some insight in some of the work you've been doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ivy. So I will just see if I can find my slides. They should be appearing shortly. With a bit of luck. There we go. Thank you very much. So I'm sorry I couldn't be there the whole day. Unfortunately, I have a very packed day today. So I'm very pleased to be able to just pop in and say hello, but obviously it would be much nicer if we could have some more time for discussions. So what I'm trying to talk to cover today this particular slot is how we work towards sustainable food networks with digital platforms, and how do we build digital platforms that are suitable for that sort of activities. And bearing in mind that many of the people that we talk to are not computer experts, they are experts in food or in markets or food safety or whatever, and we need to give them a platform that is usable for them, that they actually don't struggle or waste time trying to learn computer systems when it really just should be working for them. So let's look at sustainability and how that might work with the food, from a food perspective. I should say that, so with all the nice things that Ify said about me in the introduction, I am not an expert on food at all. All I know about food is what I know about as a consumer, going into going shopping or cooking and that sort of stuff. So I'm trying to come from it from the digital platform perspective. So this is a challenge that I picked up from Professor Peter Ball, who was a PI of one of the Food Network projects, Why can't we do things on a small scale? And picking up on that, just off the top of my head, I can think of lots of examples why bigger is not necessarily better. You may have heard of the large chicken farms in Wales that are polluting rivers. You might have heard of small abattoirs closing, so animals need to be transported larger distances. Having buildings full of lots of animals is not good for animal welfare. Caged hens might be, efficient in some sort of sense, some sort of economic sense, but it's not good for the hens. And the cheap processed food makes people ill, basically. There's just been a study out recently I saw in the news somewhere. So bigger is not better. And just picking up on Peter's challenge, how can we enable the things to be done on a smaller scale? So going back to Peter's slides, he investigated in York in a project that also had IFE involved. We looked at localizing food production and food use and making use of the food waste in a circular economy kind of thing. But you could also look at doing things on a different scale. Could you miniaturize things? So some of our other food projects have looked at Internet of Things. Can we miniaturize sensors and stuff and put them into places where we can monitor the health in a beehive and just alert the beekeeper if there's anything going wrong? Or we can put stuff in food producers like cafeterias and hotels and stuff, and just alert them if there's any waste that could be repurposed. And then there's the whole digital twins thing. Everybody's talking about digital twins, and you may ask, how can digital twins help us doing things here? And this is kind of what I'm working towards in this talk. How can we build digital twins that will help us model what happens in an urban local environment in terms of produce and managing the circular economy, not just in a financial sense, but also in the sense of getting the logistical sense of getting produce from the producer to the consumer. So again, one of Peter's slides, we looked in a specific instance in vertical farming in York, which produced basil for pizzas in local restaurants. So they could basically produce that to order, knowing exactly how they grew because they were in a controlled environment. And then you can look at food waste using the IntelliDigest tool to derive nutrients out of food that would otherwise have been wasted. You can put in stuff from breweries that deliver beer to restaurants. They also have byproducts that can be used to build panels in our case. And in turn, you can take all of those things out and feed them back into the vertical farms. And then you get the circular economy thing going on a small scale, but that's precisely what we want because we want to demonstrate it's working and we want to track how the products actually work. So within this circular economy framework, we then looked at how we can integrate things with essentially a data backplane. How do you get that data? How do you simulate how the economy would work? How do you communicate that to the wider stakeholders? Because you want in York, for example, you want the city of York to be involved at some level because they have an interest in having a sustainable environment in the city. So that was just an example, the circular economy in York. There are many other examples where you want to manage the markets and supply chain because you want to coordinate the producers and consumers with each other because you want to produce stuff without wasting it. So either you say to the consumers, you alert them when there's a product that is ready to go to market, or conversely, you have the consumers placing an order saying, I have a big event happening in next month. Can I pre-place my order for something other? And thereby minimizing the waste, the time that that product is stored or transported by planning ahead, basically. The other thing is just to engage people. So recently there was a study in Newcastle, I think, where they looked at how much produce could you possibly produce locally. This is almost like a sort of wartime economy where you have dig for victory. If everybody used their back gardens and the green spaces and stuff to produce food, they could cover up to 30% of the needs of the city of Newcastle. So how can you support small scale producers to actually do stuff and produce food that you may want to sell, and use that in a proper way to develop, to provide nutritious food, locally grown food for the region. So it's no use that if everybody just starts growing carrots, because you get too many carrots. You need to coordinate things on a larger scale so you get a variety of produce that are suitable to the soil, perhaps, that are suitable to the environment, to the climate in that region. So at the same time, you still want to minimize the time and the energy on transportation of the produce. So you can basically make the whole thing flow on a local scale. You may also want to understand people, because most people feel that they haven't got a lot of time. So it's easier to just go to the supermarket, but the supermarket has flown beans in from Kenya rather than getting them grown in Oxfordshire. So I'm based in Oxfordshire. So if you're in the shop and you look at something, courgette or something, you don't see necessarily the country of origin of that. So ideally you want local produce, but sometimes it's flown in from really far away in the world for some reason that is best known to the supermarket. So if you were informed, if you checked every time where your produce was grown, would it inspire you to buy local food, or do you not care? Do you just want the cheapest one? And that's where we need to engage with people to find out what are their priorities. Because if you need to go somewhere to buy carrots, and you need to go somewhere else to buy bread, and you need to go somewhere third to buy milk, then it can take a lot of time. Whereas in a supermarket, you're just pushing a trolley around and you're putting stuff in the trolley, and then you check out at the end. And that basically saves you time, which is the whole point of supermarkets in the first place. So there's that thing, if you want that circular economy, the local produce, the local economy, how do you engage people with that as well, not just the logistics of moving things around? So overall, when we talk about sustainability, we really want to support the big goals of things. So we're really talking about it because of the climate. How do you build, not just to avoid producing CO2 as much as possible, or other climate greenhouse gases, but you also want to build resilience so that you don't run out of carrots in Newcastle because the supply somewhere has failed in Spain or something, and suddenly you've run out of carrots in Newcastle. So you want to try and build resilience into your supply chain as well, and that is easier to do if it's a local supply chain. Also, because of the discussions about the ultra-processed foods and things, you may want to try to encourage people to eat more nutritiously, to eat local food, and get better health that way. And ideally reducing poverty as well by making sure that farmers are given a good, they're paid for the thing that they produce. So there's been much discussion about the price of milk in the UK, where we are not paying enough for milk to actually make it sustainable for the farmer. So again, this is a case perhaps where the large-scale supermarkets can put pressure on the farmers to lower their prices, and maybe that would be better if that didn't happen, that you set a fair price for the milk. And the same thing with coffee and anything else that's produced. You want the farmers to have make a living, but you also want them to have some good, safe conditions for their animals, for their workers, and that sort of thing. So the welfare is also part of this thing. How can we improve the welfare of animals, of workers, of farmers, that sort of thing. So that's part of the big picture of why we're getting to this sustainability. So now we'll get to the digital platform, because what I want to talk to you about today is how we enable that. If we now go back to the York example, it's obviously based on a map of the region of York that we're looking at. It's based on data about the restaurants that are available. It was also chosen for having student accommodation nearby, so we know students like pizzas, and pizzas need to have basil on them, and basil needs to be grown locally in the vertical farm. So we also know that students like beer, and beer was also part of the economy that we looked at. So choosing a place with lots of students seemed to be a good idea. But the point here is that we're combining the static data we've got, where the sort of restaurants don't change every day, and the students change, but generally there will be a large number of students in the region. And then there's the dynamic data about which produce is available and how much of it is available and to whom and at what price is it available. So there will be dynamic data combined with the static data that goes into the model and a visualization of how the whole thing works, because you can only see how the whole thing works when you have like an overview, like a dashboard kind of thing. We tried to model this with an Excel spreadsheet just to make it accessible for people who were not computing experts, to see how things could flow around in a digital economy, circular economy environment. So one of the ways we do this is on the Daphne infrastructure, and I just want to say a few words about Daphne, because it's a digital platform that's meant to be easy to use for people who are not computing experts, but you can still build workflows together. So if he had some students at some point who worked on the Daphne platform on building models of using the IntelliDigest tool to recover nutrients from food that would otherwise have been wasted in restaurants. So we built some simple scripts that could simulate those environments, so you can see how the economics of that would work on the basis of the simulation. And that's typical of what Daphne does. So Daphne is basically for studying infrastructure, whether it's a supply chain, or whether it's electricity supply or traffic in a particular neighborhood. So you have a user interface, you have a database with data in it, and you have a visualization platform, and all that tied together to bring data in from different sources, from like whether it's geospatial data, it's demographics data, it's economics data. You bring that together into the platform, and then you sort of digest that data set and produce visualizations around that. So here's a quick snapshot of a traffic digital twin in Sheffield. You can imagine something along the same lines doing the digital economy as well. So you can, instead of seeing traffic in your map, you see how the produce flow around in the map, and then you speed things up a bit so you can see what happens over here, for example. So with a digital platform, you need to interface it to external environments. If you're not just doing simulations, you need to get data into it, and it could come from users with their phones. They could enter data or scan stuff, and you can put. We have even explored producing apps to put on phones that can interface with data distribution hubs that we run in a cloud that push data into my data center. So we can gather data about a region and see how the economy is working, how the circular economy works. There are also, in cases of farming, lots of digital platforms, and the Food Network, if you're interested in digital platforms for farming, produced a report about the existing the products that are available for farmers to support the specifics about farmers communicating with each other and with the markets and with the customers who want to buy their stuff. And there are lots of other ways you can interface things into the platform. So connecting things together with various things. And as I alluded to in the beginning, the whole thing, what we really wanted it to be is an easy to use platform for the person who is an expert in the food, in the economy, in the compliance, in whatever domain. They do not have to be experts in computing. We want to make this available for people who are domain experts and not computing experts. And that means that the user experience has to be very user-friendly. So with the database, it gives you an interface you can explore. You can see which region is covered. So if you're looking for Newcastle or something, you can search for things that include Newcastle or that are specific to Newcastle. And you can start exploring stuff in that environment, whether it's demographics, whether it's geospatial data, whether it is economics data or something else that may be available on the platform. And with that, you get what we call models, where you explore the data and you combine the data from different sources, and you have you basically process that in workflows. And the workflows then in turn spit out usually visualizations at the end, which could be a Jupyter notebook, or it could be a data exploration tool, or it could be simply a visualization of the region where you can see how things flow around with sort of in the circular economy. So the whole point is that this thing needs to be user-friendly so that we can get the domain experts to do things. And with that, I'll wrap up. Thank you very much.
Fantastic presentation. Thank you very much, James, for that. Quite a great insight to some of the projects that you worked on and how advanced technologies are being applied to it. But more importantly, I think it's really good how you put into the perspective of the wider food system challenges. So that was quite insightful. I think we'll be moving on to the next speaker on the agenda. The next speaker that we have is Bronson. Bronson, I will quickly introduce you, and I hope you can come to the stage. So, great, fantastic. So Bronson is an experienced project management officer with a demonstrated history of working in agricultural innovation industry, skilled in blockchain and machine learning, with a focus on climate, agroecology, and regenerative food systems in using scientific refinement solutions in Africa. Innovation, community, and multidisciplinary collaboration style are central to Bronson's approach. The Source, which is the organization that Bronson represents as a research and development manager, is an agricultural company that solves problems faced by marginalized communities in sub-Saharan countries. They involve everyone as an actor on the stage of empowering communities on the importance of agriculture, good agricultural practices, proper and quick responses, and to identify the needs, develop strategies of mitigating the impact of marginalized areas, and to promote sustainable development that is fully owned by the local communities. The Source Plus is committed to bridging the gap between different disciplinary, advocating and offering consolation in terms of humanitarian assistance, and the vow to be able to support the marginalized groups. I'm very pleased that Bronson is able to join us today. Bronson was also an active participant in the STFC Food Network program, and very pleased that you could share some of the work you've done today. Thank you very much. I'll leave it to you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here today. And so basically what we focus on is on agroecological approaches within Africa. And majorly we focus on twin solution, whereby we look at the farmers, where the communities, how are they participant in what we do and fully on. It's actually basically just what actually Jensen has gone through, but we're looking on the higher level, whereby how do we interact, how do the community interact with these softwares? How is it simple to them? Because sometimes we have different information from different players. We have the farmers, we have the researchers, and we have the policymakers. And sometimes we have disconnect within the community when all these players cannot understand each other. So what we do is we bridge that gap by use of data and simplify that to communicate in different players within the industry. So I'll go through basically what we do. So the source players actually work with small-scale farmers in East Africa region and broadly in Sub-Saharan, where we source sustainably produced honey and ensure transparency across the value chain by a use of blockchain technology and machine learning. So, and when you look at the industry, actually, climate risk has actually been in the recent year has been actually amplified, and this has actually led to disruption of practices of among 1.6 million, especially beekeepers in Africa, and this has led to challenges cascading to honey contamination, which actually is the second most related component food globally, and also changing environmental conditions, which has also altered floral patterns, affecting also how bees gather food and exposing them to contaminants. These are the farmers and honey. And this has triggered a domino effect within the ecosystem, whereby there's project rejection at the supermarkets. I think you mentioned that, and also at reduced market access for farmers or livelihood. And this also, in turn, threatens the financial stabilities of communities. And also, consumer alike on the other side are left uncertain, especially in the food system, prompting question about the safety of the food they are consuming. But in this case, we are looking at the honey itself. So, on the other hand, actually now, what we've been able to achieve during the as we were part of the STFC or SFN program, we developed a solution that works to bridge the gap between climate risk, market acceptance, and different players within the market, within the ecosystem or the value chain through a traceability and monitoring system that's driven by a blockchain, GIS, machine learning, big data, and also above most, it integrates offline use. Because if you have a system and farmers cannot use at the ground, it becomes useless. So what we're able to do is we're able to provide insights to counter contamination risk, which allows tracking of honey and pinpointing harvesting points and enable comprehensive screening and certification for the stakeholders. And we have different kind of data, so whereby we have data on contaminants, which is actually sent to the governments, and they're able to formulate policies based on actual data and future plans based on actually real-time data. For the farmers also, they're able to receive or communities able to receive data in terms of the management of the farms. These are specifically hives within the ground and ecosystem environment at a broader level. Then you also have now the other key players who actually the consumers are able to actually we're able to build their confidence in ethically produced honey, which broadens the market access and translate to a heightened livelihood and financial stability for the beekeepers in Africa. So one of the programs we conducted was in Burundi, and so in red and yellow are the major actually study areas, whereby we are mapping the distribution of apiaries and from where the occurrence of the data actually within these regions were categorized by representative climate gradient. So what we have in each region, we had apiaries distributed in different regions within this map, actually if you look at the below map. And so one of the key things we were actually able to monitor was actually the occurrence data and also data analysis, actually, which we actually were able to take into consideration. Then also we have topical variables actually which affects that. So major thing we're looking at was the honey pest species occurrence, because with honey is actually how it's related. Pest related, it actually affects or determines on how the bee health of the colony and also eventually also the contamination within the lower level. So data were collected in these regions throughout the year, and they were actually all aggregated and prediction analysis based on various geographical data sets which were actually obtained in this region were registered and vector and clipped to a boundary of study sites within this region, and divided into two main groups. One was the occurrence, as initially stated, and also the predictor variables. So, and predictor variables also categorize in remote sense and bioclimatic variables, which actually was used to determine ecological niche out of the machine now where we talk about learning model which was developed was introduced at this point, and which actually was able to remotely classify and censor biometric variables defined in this, and which was normalized by vegetation index. Why we do that is because when we talk about beekeeping, environment flowering patterns is actually what produce foods for the bees, and also pollen is the food to the bees, sorry, and also we have the nectar, which is actually honey, also which is also food to the bees, but also where as humans at that level we consume this. So when we talk about this climatic data is actually what we aggregate and help us inform the simulation and distribution of honey pest between different regions. So this is actually two major regions we picked, but we did around 7 or 8. And what we came to realize actually is a climatic condition in this data set actually. One of the major key things like major climatic conditions were affecting beekeeping in these regions, and pesticide appearance or occurrence was temperature, rainfall, and also derived by climatic summaries variables. And with this now, we went ahead and did ecological modeling, and which in turn actually was enabled to inform our decision in this region. So one of the other aspect we are looking at equally was actually remote sense variables, which actually within the machine learning and blockchain brought about increased accuracy and precision models by reducing overfitting and also predictivity of flowering patterns and pesticide occurrence within these regions. So this also led to understanding factors that influence spend or multiplication and spread of honeybees pest across different regions in which we marked. And so eventually now this also has enabled us to overall actually bring an impact, because although most of the honey pests are wider spatial range and can be found in various climatic conditions, there are specific conditions that play a key role in determining the distribution. For instance, we have hive beetles and wax moth. They can thrive in alternative food sources, while varroa mite are obligated ectoparasites for the bees. Therefore, the former two are more likely to affected by climatic variation at the latter, and therefore enable us actually to focus on these key bioclimatic and remote sensing variables within our accounts and provide and translate that information to something which is understandable to the communities and the farmers. So, and through that now we are able to provide proactive climate risk management at the communities, and also reduce contaminations within the communities and risk that happens to that by providing insight to maximize contaminants or also other pesticide exposure to the bees, and training farmers on organic beekeeping, agroforestry practices, because actually is the source of the food, as I said earlier. And this has also resulted to ecosystem restoration and resulting also to also climate mitigation or global warming mitigation, whereby we've been able to mitigate around 86,000 kiloton within a span of 2 years in certain regions. And this also has in turn led to honey production boosts, crop pollination boost, and also increased market, because you're able to track and backtrack the origin and also mitigate this certain contaminant risk, and eventually boost farmers' income within Africa. So, and with that, I'll stop there. So, in case you want to reach out and you want us to discuss further, there is our email address and we can discuss further. Thank you. Back to you, Effie.
Fantastic presentation. Thank you so much, Bronson, for sharing that insight on the work you're doing with honey, with the bee farmers, and also the importance of honey and the application of technology to ensure that we can improve the whole process. Really appreciate that. I think with that, we'll be moving on to the next speaker, Sky from Buffin. Just to say that please remember to drop your questions in the chat. The speakers will be looking forward to answering your questions. I'm hoping that you're getting a lot of inspiration from the presentations. There'll be a lot of questions for the speakers as we come to the question and answer session, the panel session. Well, thank you so much, Bronson. With that, I'll be inviting Sky to speak to us now. Hello, Sky. How are you?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for joining us today. A quick intro for Sky. Sky Melita is the Boffin Community Manager, and Sky holds an MSc in psychology and a background in website building, media, and effective marketing. Sky also very much interested in the world of agriculture and is keen to bring a fresh perspective in her role at Boffin. Boffin was founded by Tom Allen Stevens in 2020. I'm sure Sky will tell us a lot more about Boffin, but just a quick intro about Boffin and why we're very keen for them to speak to us today. And Boffin was founded by Tom Allen Stevens in 2020 to bring together farmers who want to get involved in on-farm trials and test out innovations themselves. The network currently has over 600 members with at least, I'm sure the number is different now, so these are old statistics, with at least 60% of the members being farmers who carry out their own farm trials and share their results, seeking scientifically robust ways to progress the farm practice. Buffy members are particularly keen to be involved with technological innovations at an early stage in their development. Crop innovations represent a key focus for Buffin. The Buffin model has created a knowledge cluster that acts as a communication channel and opens up a tiered approach to how farmers are engaged. I'll leave it to you, Sky, to give us more insight. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'll just share my screen one moment. Okay, so yes, Boffin is the British On-Farm Innovation Network, and I wanted to talk to you today about the power of knowledge. So we launched in 2020, as was just said, and we really focus on representing farmers that are carrying out on-farm trials. We've got a real emphasis on pre-commercial tech, and our membership at the moment is just about to hit 1,000, again, 50% of whom are farmers. Our idea is really to help bridge the gap between scientists and farmers by creating new ways for knowledge exchange. And one of these ways is through our idea of the knowledge cluster. So the knowledge cluster essentially aims to ensure everyone from the project partner to those that are just curious about the project within the wider community are exchanging knowledge and experiences. So at Boffin, for every project that we're involved with, we create a community of people around it with special interest. And some examples of these include the seed circle and the slug circle, but I'll go into these in a bit more detail in a moment. But essentially, you can see how all this information is shared between each layer or group of people, and we believe this is how the real advancements are going to be made. And before I move on to this, I really wanted to give you a quick introduction to some of the projects that Boffin are currently working on. So first of all, let's have a look at slug-resistant wheat. So this is a project that's actually shortly coming to an end. So at the end of this month, it's finishing, but we've had some really great results. The John Innes Centre came to us and explained that they have come across a wheat variety that seemed to be consistently spurned by slugs. This was an old landrace variety called Watkins 788. Now, Watkins 788 came about due to a civil servant in the 1920s who went around the world collecting wheat samples. Now, when he died, his family gave these samples to science, and so we're now looking further into one of these, the Watkins 788, and this was from Turkestan. Scientists at the John Innes Centre got to work completing feeding trials with different wheat varieties, and again found the Watkins 788 remained successful in being resisted by slugs. After hearing this, we thought this would be something of interest to our farmers, and at the time we only had about 100 members, so this was when we were brand new, and straight away about 60 people came back and were like, yeah, we need to be involved with this. So we worked with scientists at Harper Adams University to create a scientifically robust protocol that our farmers could follow, which led to the setup that many of our farmers are still following today. We supplied our farmers with an app, the Husk Data app, to upload their data onto, along with the traps and other supplies needed to carry out the trials. Now, importantly, all farmers involved were paid for their time. A trial that relied on finding slugs, we had a pretty much slugless year last autumn 2022. However, our farmers still carried out the monitoring, and we received some fantastic feedback from the scientists that the work was done up to the publishable standard that you would expect from a professional trials technician, and that was incredibly cost-saving having farmers do the work. So in year 2 of the project, we took feedback from our farmers and scientists, amended the protocols and got to work. And one of the main points of importance was to ensure we had enough slugs from the John Innes Centre to complete their feeding trials. So we took to the public. And with a little bit of help from our friends in the media, we ended up receiving nearly 1,500 slugs in the post. You should really make sure to follow along with the Boffin journey, and you can find out some of the results from year 2. They're going to be announced really soon. And having looked at the preliminary results, they're really quite impressive. But anyway, carrying on from this, we then partnered with the CHAP, Harper Adams University and John Innes Centre again, and Aggravation, to start the project Slimers, or in full, strategies leading to improved management and enhanced resilience against slugs. But I think for the purpose of this, we'll stick to Slimers. So Slimers aims to address arable farming's biggest pest issue that causes £43.5 million of crop damage per annum for wheat and oilseed rape in the UK, for which there's one form of control, which is ferric phosphate pellets. Now, the aim is to develop 2 commercial services from current proof of concept: patch prediction and precision mapping, and autonomous slug control using nematodes. So far, we've recruited 27 slug sleuths from all over the UK and developed the Slug Sleuth Handbook, which includes details on the protocol and other key project details. Now, as key part of the Slimers project is the introduction of the key roles. Firstly, we've got the trial host. So this is the person providing the land, the crop, and ultimately the data. Secondly, we've got the trial monitor, and this is the person that will go out and record the data and is ultimately in charge of ensuring the monitoring takes place. And then finally, we've introduced the role of project ambassador. Now, this comes back to our idea of knowledge has value. The project ambassador should take time to share their experiences and communicate with our members within the slug circle to drive discussion and inspire other farmers to get involved. And again, our farmers are getting paid for their involvement in each role that they play. We've now managed to carry out the first year of on-farm monitoring with our slug sleuths, despite absolutely horrific weather conditions, but we're now working towards introducing the Slimers AI. The next project that I'd like to introduce you to is the Nitrogen Climate Smart, or NCS project. This is a £5.9 million DEFRA-funded project with some really ambitious aims. Across a consortium of 18 partners, we're aiming to reduce carbon emissions by around 1.5 million tonnes, increase pulse cropping in arable rotations from the current 5% to a hopeful 20%, and decrease imported soya meal used in feed by 50%. And we hope to do this by encouraging more farmers in the UK to grow pulses that can be used in livestock rations. Within this project, we have about £370,000 going directly back to the farmers that will be involved in the on-farm trials. Now, so far, we've created some really informative resources which are available to the public to help exchange knowledge between the scientists and the farmers. We've also developed discussion areas for the knowledge exchange over on the Farming Forum and Farm PEP for members of the Pulse PEP. Pulse PEP is our community of people within the project who are farmers, scientists, those who are just curious, and those that want to stay updated, and you're also welcome to join this community. So work's currently underway to recruit our Pulse pioneers, and these are the people that are going to be directly involved with the project, and they'll be getting paid to complete the on-farm trials. The NCS project protocols have been heavily led by farmer discussions and input, and we'll continue to include farmer input when finalising trial details. If you'd like to find out more about this, you can contact info@boffin.org.uk, or you can just scan this QR code and you'll get a survey. Now, the final project I'd like to introduce you to is our latest one, Truth. This is a brand new project that has literally just started, focusing on understanding what happens beneath our feet. And you can see the project partners at the bottom of the screen there. So from the Truth Project, we're hoping for two major outcomes. The development of a platform that makes root growth as easy to assess as GAI, and this will require us to create protocols much like the ones for Slimers and the NCS project. We're also about to start recruiting root rangers to test out some of the novel interventions and technology we intend to introduce. Secondly, we will create a knowledge forum to enable the exchange of knowledge across scientists and farmers to develop understanding of root growth and how to best influence it. The project is going to introduce some really clever technology and create an invaluable community of people. To join this community and be involved from the start, you can join and express interest by scanning this code here. Now, just to give you a bit more background about me, my name's Sky Melita and I'm the community manager at Boffin. My role focuses heavily on engaging farmers and encouraging the exchange of knowledge. I've not come from an agricultural background, so I can never go into the technical details of farming with you, but I do have a really strong background of communication, understanding people, and collaborative platforms. And that's what I'm going to focus on for a little while now. So when I talk about collaborative internet platforms, I'm simply referring to platforms like Twitter or X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Farming Forum, and there's so many more that can be named, but these are some of the really key ones that you should be aware of. And these are really, really important for success of any size. And as I keep mentioning throughout this whole presentation, the exchange of knowledge is incredibly important. Social media platforms allow people to share real life experiences, gain and give advice, and the implementation of this on-demand communication is key for the agricultural sector to continue to grow and develop. Projects like the ones I have introduced to you today come from farmer discussions, not just in the UK, but across the world, and we need to ensure this knowledge exchange is captured. The other reason that these platforms are so important within the UK is that they build a community. Farming is an industry where you're likely to be working alone, so we often have to try a little bit harder than any other industry to get in the same sense of sharing and belonging that others get through their workplace. And 90% of people online act as observers, simply watching other people interact. Imagine if they started to interact too. We'd be able to build a community of people with endless knowledge, experiences, advice, and support to grant others within the community, and hopefully then feel like you've got your workmates around you. And this is my focus within my role at Boffin. As suggested earlier, we've developed communities of people around each of the project topics, and we've currently set up the Slug Circle, the Seed Circle, and Pulse Pep. And we've got coming really soon the Soil Circle. So if you would like to be involved in any of these, it's completely free, and you can scan the QR code just there. My involvement at Boffin focuses on spreading awareness of just how important knowledge exchange and community thinking is. And it's really important as part of these projects and forum discussions that our members, project partners, and involved scientists are sharing their knowledge and experience, as this is so powerful and important in encouraging the involvement amongst projects, promoting sustainability and with aims of achieving net zero. I hope this has been helpful, and I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kai. Very interesting presentation. Amazing projects you're working on, delivering impact within the food system. Really appreciate you sharing that insight with us. And I think I'll still at this point encourage everyone to put in their questions. I've got so much questions in the chat. I hope we'll have enough time to cover them. But yeah, I think we'll move on to the last but not the least speaker today. So I'm going to welcome on stage Anna Garavito from UNIDO. Anna, how are you? Pleased to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll do a quick introduction of you before you carry on. So Anna Garavito is an agronomy engineer specializing in watershed management and environment, and has worked as an analyst of climate change in the Ministry of Environment in Panama for 3 years before pursuing further studies abroad. Anna obtained a master's degree in agri-food systems and rural development in the Czech Republic. Building on her education, Anna completed international internships in Germany at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, and in Vienna at the International Atomic Energy Agency, and in Czech Republic at Agri Natura. She also received training in carbon capture in the Amazon forest during her time in Manaus, Brazil, as part of the scholarship program of JICE. Anna actively participated as a young delegate in events like the Ivy Summit of the Americas and the Marshall Entrepreneurship Program with the Israel Project. Since October 2022, she has been a project associate in the Climate Technologies Innovation Unit at UNIDO in the Bioenergy Clean Cooking team, where she contributes her skill to promote clean cooking solutions in developing countries and currently support in the management of the Council on Ethanol Clean Cooking Secretariat. Anna Garavito is dedicated to addressing climate change and ensure energy access to all. Fantastic profile there. Thank you so much, Anna, for joining us. I will leave you to carry on your presentation.
Thank you, Fijimo, for the nice introduction. Now I will share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, carry on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now I wanted to start mainly to tell you what is UNIDO. The UNIDO is the United Nations Industrial Development Organization with the mandate to promote sustainable industries for creating shared prosperity and for safeguarding the environment. So the UNIDO vision is mainly to end poverty and is focused in many areas. One of these areas is, for example, business from farm to fork, that is food security to reduce post-harvest losses, stopping climate breakdown by using renewable energy as a bioenergy, where is coming the clean cooking as a fuel, and also by promoting energy access, energy efficient, and sustainable supply chain. So mainly, UNIDO is concentrate in improving living standard of the member state of the communities, and also to ensure that anyone is left behind. So at the moment, UNIDO has 172 member states, and here our main focus from the Sustainable Development Goals are industry, innovation, infrastructure, the goal number 7, that is affordable and clean energy, and 13 of the climate action. So now I will give you an overview about why clean cooking. So mainly 90% of the solid biomass that is produced, for example, wood group, from this number, 40% are used for traditional cooking. So for this traditional cooking is highly polluted, is highly inefficient, and is produce many health problems, also economic problems, social problems, and environmental problems. So from this traditional cooking, 2% of this greenhouse gas emission are from these burning fuels. And 2.5 million premature deaths in 2020 was accounted by the traditional cooking. So at the moment of we have here in the graph is the net zero roadmap, what we want to achieve by 2050. For example, we want to achieve that we have bioenergy increase to 100 joules in 2050. At the moment, we have 65. So we want to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal number 7, then the solid biomass fall to 0 by 2030, and we want to then capture these carbon emissions from bioenergy that is around 2.4 gigatonnes carbon dioxide. So this is what bioenergy capture, and as you see is a gray carbon capture that bioenergy help in this prevent or mitigate the greenhouse gases emission. So we have this at the moment. This is the problem. As I see at the moment, 2.3 billion people lack access to clean cooking fuel. From these 2.3 billion, 3.2 million deaths are accounted, according to the World Health Organization, for early premature death, are accounting for the house air pollution that is produced by cooking with wood, with kerosene, cow dung, for example. And then also these are mainly the main cause of respiratory disease, but not only that, because the women are the ones that carrying the woods in remote areas, and they are affected at home, and also the children cannot go to school as well, and they also are affected for these emissions that are from the damaging pollutants. And also 59% of the total energy supply on developing countries, and least developing countries, mainly Africa and Asia, are from traditional energy sources. So here is called why clean cooking. Clean cooking, it will save the household time and money, and mainly it will improve the woman's health and also the children as well, reducing this workload, giving more time to focus in business, where is coming the gender empowerment, and then reduce this household emission, improve health, help the climate, reduce deforestation, and at the same time create jobs opportunity for the local people to reduce this consumption of firewood that is also cost time and money. And then now, to give a global context of clean cooking, we have that we are now at the moment 2020, 2.3 billion people don't have access to clean cooking, and then we have the target that is 0, but we are off track, meaning that we have to work really hard to achieve this target, because if we don't do it, we will have in 2030 1 million, 2.1 million still billion without access to clean cooking. Also, at the same time, we are talking about universal electricity access. We have the baseline 1.1, but we are still have 733 million in 2020. And the scenario is that we won't achieve it if we will have 670 or 764 billion. And so here, how we can relate this to improve the food system, where the food system through clean cooking, as we have we use bioenergy. For example, one type of bioenergy is the biogas from biodigester that you can also generate other income. For example, you can use the biogas for organic fertilizer and at the same time for helping the soils, and then you have better agriculture practice. Then at the same time, using clean fuels improve the food production, because then reduce the greenhouse emissions and then prevent environmental degradation. So at the same time, you prevent food losses and waste, because when you produce bioethanol from sugarcane, we mainly use the waste of the sugarcane that are the molasses. But then this is like a circular economy, so you can use all the products. And at the same time, access to affordable clean fuels. If you have a stove improve, you can have many dietary, many nutrition, because you can cook. You have many cooking practice as well. You can cook better with improved cook stuff. And then at the same time, if you have this clean cooking with improved cook stores, you can reduce the air pollution and improve livelihood, as I mentioned before. So is clean cooking is really interlinked with improving the food system, and is crucial for this it's beneficial and crucial to have it in the food system, because it's definitely helping the environment, prevent greenhouse emission, and improve the livelihood of the communities. So here I just wanted to show you in this graph. For example, there is this example of stored fuels with a use. For example, you have here indoor air pollution, where the most stuff are improved, the better is the performance, and then reduce the risk for childhood pneumonia. For example, I will see here a stuff with biogas ethanol, and as you see, it's less. But when you go to the three-stone fire or simple no tradition, then the risk is higher. So here we have this multi-tier framework that was developed from the World Bank. When you see the different kind of clean cooking stuff, for example, you have tier 01, that is open fire, three-stone, firewood charcoal. Then you see that the efficiency is less than 20%, ventilation is poor, as also cost, and then it's negative impact. So you have tier 2 and 3 that are improved, that are with pellet, with racket, briquette, and you see how the efficiency is 20 to 40, so it's going improving, so you spend less amount of time per week in the cook in comparison with the tier 01 that you have to go and collect the full wood and come back, and then it's time consuming. And then you have the tier 4, 5 that are more modern, more improved. We have here ethanol, we have here LPG, we have here biogas, and then you see the efficiency is about 40%. It's good ventilation, and the time is the less than 1.4 hours per week. And these are the costs, and there is negative health, a less greenhouse emission, and it significantly impact the life of the people in those areas that we are working on to improve the life of this community. So here was this example. So now I wanted to tell you more about bioethanol as a clean cooking fuel. So mainly the bioethanol is produced from the sugar from crops. So we have sugarcane, we have cassava, potato, maize, and then they are distilled into bioethanol. So you have a micro distillery when distilled into bioethanol. So this bioethanol can be used as a transport, as a fuel blending, and also as a cooking, for cooking. So when the bioethanol is burned, the process emits carbon dioxide that after is absorbed through the photosynthesis of the plant, that is absorbed from crops, then we have bioethanol as a carbon neutral renewable energy, bioenergy, that improve the environmental, and at the same time also improve the livelihood of the woman that cook with fire when you use bioethanol. So it's zero emission and is a carbon neutral. So here I want to tell you what you see here. There is a woman cooking with putting this ethanol that is come here in this bottle in the stove. So you have also bioethanol, ethanol production reduce the greenhouse emission, help to prevent deforestation, and reduce the indoor pollution. At the same time, it's high energy efficient, so it's also cheaper. And many countries like Nigeria, for example, in Africa, are surplus of molasses that can be used to produce ethanol. They relieve the woman for many hours spent on cleaning wood, and also prevent that the children go to school. They can spend more time doing their homework because usually they are the one accompanying the mother to collect the wood. And the ethanol industry also mobilize investment in the agriculture sector because they create job opportunities as well. And direct heating with liquid fuel is cheaper, the most efficient way, and also reduce dependence on fossil fuel imports, a driving industry, and also develop the GDP growth, and then also made that to develop this a sugar industry in the country and don't enhance the food system. So here is just an example what bioethanol as a transport. You can blend it with ethane, with gasoline, improve air quality, reduce dependence on fossil fuel, and then as a clean cooking is affordable, women empowerment, safe indoor, healthy alternative, and play a crucial role in the mitigation of climate change. So what now I will to explain you what do UNIDO. So in the Climate Technology Innovation Unit where I am belonging, I'm in the bioenergy clean cooking team. So mainly we work in this team in assisting member state in creating the bioenergy industry and value chain to meet the energy demand for household, industry, and transport sector. So we provide capacity building, policy advice, technical assistance to the countries to develop this sugar industry, technology transfer, and we have also networking, advocacy, experience sharing. And mainly focus is also to then fulfill this sustainable goal, affordable and clean energy by 2030. So here are the tools for the bioenergy program. We have, for example, bioenergy industry and value chain development, where we have the global impact program for clean cooking (GIPCC) that are expected to work with 20 child projects to then to achieve the goal to have access to clean cooking. So we have waste to energy industry, for example, focusing agro-industry sectors, mainly like cassava, sugar industry, and advisory service and capacity building, where we address the biofuel blending in transport and also all the kind of modern bioenergy for clean cooking that we provide the countries to this service where they can develop their own bioenergy or their own sugar industry. So here, what is the global impact for clean cooking? So we have one of these routes are the Council on Ethanol Clean Cooking. We have also demonstration of bioenergy technologies for clean cooking. So we have here, for example, you see this was in Tanzania where they have demonstration. We have here the bioethanol, a bottling plant. We have here the stove, and there's in 20 share in Africa, Asia. So we have also resource aggregation, technology management, and we mobilize also the resources. So here, as a component, we have then the Council on Ethanol Clean Cooking. We have, at the moment, 33 members. We have 19 countries from Asia and Africa. We work with developing partners. It's a networking platform for shared experience, so the country can develop a sugar ethanol industry and value chain. So we have organized many capacity building events, international conference, to then provide to them with these tools that they can develop their own sugar industry. And we provide to them technical assistance, for example, feasibility study, baseline diagnostic study, policy standard. So we have our child project, the first child project under this program is the Tanzania Clean Cooking Project, where we have achieved, for example, now the project is have in the first phase, and now is coming with the second phase, but they are achievement in the first phase. Also, there is a nice brochure in online that you want to read more about this project, you can download from there. And then we have 20 projects of this. So we have Tanzania, there have been sold 11,000 cook stove. It has been reduced 1,434 tons of CO2. And we have 124,000 liter ethanol, the bottling plant. And now Madagascar is developing the clean cooking program. UNIDO is assisting in this program. And for example, to have a stove produced by pellet as well. So this is 2 projects. And then we're planning to replicate those projects in the council members. So we have, for example, here what we will achieve with this. We have the target of 160,000 households. So we are mobilizing the private sector investment that they will reduce 350,000 tons of CO2 per year, will generate jobs, we can generate clean fuels, 40 companies will establish, and will be investment of the private sector. So as you see here with the sugar cane, the ethanol bottle, and this is nice here. She's cooking with the stove and trying in a training. So here is what is the innovative approach for UNIDO. So we want to drive market demand, so the private sector could create this enable environment. So with subsidized and level playing field, we have the enterprise clean cooking private sector facility that promote the private sector investment, and we have the woman and carbon credit impact fund levers for improved social benefit. For example, a clean cooking social facility where also we can generate carbon a credit for the ethanol. And this is the innovating approach is of course constantly monitoring and evaluation, and also with the subsidy we can reduce the stuff more affordable and the ethanol for the communities. So this is just in a nutshell about the Madagascar Clean Cooking Program with the biogas, household farm, energy plantation, pellet, and then sugar industry, cassava industry, bamboo secondary that can produce ethanol and can live with this whole package that is supported by OPEC fund. And then it is just mention the council members. We have many countries you see from Africa, Kenya, Burkina Faso, Chad. We have Laos, and we are continuing gathering members, possible Latin America and the Caribbean as well. And there, if we are in the membership, right, we have technical partners like GPAP, Sustainable Energy for All, Clean Cooking Alliance. We work with many institutions, research institutions from China. We have Biofuel Campaign, we have Clean Cooking Alliance. We have also this organization from Costa Rica, that is from the agriculture research. We have Pivot, we have FAO. And then how the council was funded, where we have expert group meeting in 2021. The country realized there was a need for a network platform that can promote ethanol for clean cooking. Then the Cote d'Ivoire, Kenya, India, and Philippines developed this framework. And then the council was done at COP27 in a side event, as you see here. There are with Mali, Cote d'Ivoire, Madagascar, and Kenya. We started membership track, organization of events. And then we have working on our social media, website. And then what is the council? The main activity of the council is technology sharing. So the countries can meet and share information, the success story that the other country can implement, also capacity building, technology transfer, how NIDO can assist to them, and how they can do this networking. So constant communication and help each other. Also, the expert in the partner organization can help the country to achieve this and to create this ethanol industry and value change. So there are these events on CCC that we have developed, and you are all welcome to join our webinars. We have a webinar scheduled on 22nd March. If you are interested, I can send you the link for registration. Is regarding sugar, how to develop sugar sector in countries in Africa. And then we have developed this arena webinar, sugar barrel refinery in Brazil, cassava webinar. We have side event and International Energy Climate Forum. We have side event at COP, and we have many engagement and participation in many events around the world to promote the Council on Ethanol Clean Cooking, to promote clean cooking, the work of Clean Cooking UNIDO, and provide this technical assistance to countries so they can create a bioethanol industry and value chain, or can create an industry for use the clean cooking food, and then to achieve this goal, to reduce this 2.3 billion that lack access to clean cooking. So here, in this slide, we have many bioenergy publications that we have developed. In, for example, the role of bioenergy, growing impact program for clean cooking. Here is the Tanzania example, the Yukon Dolo, and if you want to learn more about clean cooking, you can read here. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me, and thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you so much, Anna, for your presentation. I've seen a lot of conversation being stirred by your presentation in the chat. I think we'll need to take a little break at this point, and then come back again in the next 10 minutes. So that will be at 15:20 GMT. That will give you some time to kind of cool off from the presentation, and we can then go into the question and answer sessions. I think we'll be a little bit earlier in the schedule, so we should be fine to have a quick break now and come back at 15:20. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Well, Please do have a quick break at this time. We will also run through the Global Agri-Food Techpreneurs 2024 cohort. As you're on break, feel free to see who will participate in the program in 2024. And as you're watching them, just think of how you can engage with them and support them in the amazing work they're trying to do to address food system challenges in their countries. We had amazing presentation from our speakers. There's been a lot of questions in the chat, and we look forward to going through those questions for the speakers as we come back from the break. Stay tuned. Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone back to the webinar. I will be bringing our speakers on the stage at the moment. So please, Sky and Anna and Bronson, I do hope you can join us on the stage while they are getting prepared to join us for discussion. I will just want to say is really important that we run through the global agri-food techpreneurs again, and I do hope that you find connections with ours on how we can continue to support them. So we've got a number of questions in the chat, and I'm hoping that we can try to address those questions going forward. And here we need our speakers to come on the stage. And Anna, if you can turn on your video, that will be fantastic. While we are waiting for the speakers to come on board, I'll just add them to the stage. And I don't know, it's been quite an interesting presentations, and I know that Bronson and Jens will be joining us shortly, because the question and answer sessions we are meant to actually start at 15:35, so probably they taking up some time, and with a plan to join us by then. But I'm very pleased that Sky and Anna, you're here with us. So I will start off from some of the questions that we have in the chat that may be relevant to your presentations. So I mean, someone is saying the major challenge with food sustainability is the climate change, especially in Nigeria, because of 80% of the farmers are not educated to understand this factor and how they can tackle the problem. I don't know if you have any comment with that on that. Probably I'll go to you, Sky. I think if James was here, he could have been able to add more to that comment because of the wider projects that he's been engaged in. But I don't know if you have anything to say on that, Sky.
I think the main thing with education is that it can come in many different forms, and it's important to find a form that works for the community of people that you're talking about. So it doesn't have to be digital. Yeah. As you say, I can't add too much on that, but I just think it's important to take thought of every type of communication.
Yeah. Great point. I don't know if you have any comment to add to that, Anna.
I mean, I believe that there are many solutions to tackle the environmental degradation, many adaptation mechanisms that farmers can use to prevent these losses. For example, we have like this fertilizer or like natural fertilizer that you can use. For example, as I mentioned before, the biogas, that one of the byproduct is this fertilizer that improves the soil. So you can use this mechanism as well to tackle this, for example, what the farmers are facing, droughts and so on.
Yeah, very good point, Anna. Bronson, you're welcome to the stage now. And so are we just talking about, one of the key questions that was asked, or the first question that was asked was on how do you communicate to farmers about climate change issues and how that is impacting them. So I don't know if you have any comments to share with that. So how did you, because I think the question goes like this: farmers are facing a lot of climate change issues. How do you educate them about this climate change issue so that they can mitigate them? I think that's what the question is about.
Yeah, so what we do is, before even, as I said, we at the Source Plus actually engage community at the core solution provider. So, and during that stage where we're developing the product, we engage with them. We sit down, discuss what are the challenges they're facing, and how they want the solution to be solved. And apart from that, now also I know we're having changes in the environment out throughout, especially in the last few years, it's been amplified. So what we do, actually, part of the system we have is we have digital monitoring, where we're able to provide real-time digital training services to the community. At any particular time, they will require that, and also information whereby we have proactive climate risk management. They receive timely information through SMS if they don't really have, if they're offline, and also through GSMS also to enable them acquire, get this information timely. And I think that's the key thing actually in how we're able to educate them and also help them manage the climate risks that we're facing currently today.
Great point. Thank you so much, Bronson, for that insight, and also Sky and Anna for your contribution to that question. I think there's another question here. The question goes: there are situations where the core producers are financially handicapped in marketing their locally produced items. How will this program serve as a channel to close the gap? I think this question is directed to IntelliDigest because of the Global Agri-Food Techpreneur Program. Well, I'll make it open to the speakers. If you have anything you want to contribute to it, how do you close the gap for producers to get their produce to the market? So who want to go first?
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I was taking people through our product, one of the key things we have is the market leakages, whereby quality assurance or quality of the product is always a key challenge in every market. A different market have their own different ISO or sanitary and phytosanitary standards, and we come and bridge that, whereby we're not just giving you a solution, but also through the traceability when your product is ready. In this case, we're talking about honey or other agroforestry product. We come on board and buy from you. But initially, when you are try to onboard you in our program, we discuss on the agreement of the payment, because we have a cap in which this is the minimum we can always pay you, but you can always go up. And it's established through smart contracts. So eventually now, for the safety of the farmers and also our safety, and also inclusion, whereby we also try and focus on the other financial digital payments that is on FarmGate, because sometimes we realize there's a problem whereby uh, wholesalers, or for the lack of better term, brokers, they would go on market in Africa is a problem. And they pick produce and they expect the farmers to wait for 3 months until they sell their produce so that they can get paid. Sometimes also this delay, because a farmer needs that money to continue maybe farming and also feeding the family. And we realize it's a major challenge. So we come on board and also do on-farm or farm gets payments. And mostly, once the product is way on the ground, the problem becomes ours, how we store it, in case there's any spoilage and all that. But it's also testing, which also determines the price of your commodity. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Bronson. And I guess the person that asked that question is taking a lot of insight from what you shared. I think it's really important to be able to have good quality produce, and the off-takers having a measurable way to ensure that that quality is maintained, especially when it comes to delivering to the end users high quality nutritious food. So I'll just say quickly that in terms of the program, the Global Agri-Food Techpreneur Program, we provide access to the World Food Tracker platform, a platform that helps people to plan their meals and using that information to support local producers and getting the produce to the market, thereby reducing the supply chain challenges, but more importantly, ensuring that people are meeting their nutritional requirements. And also helping farmers to understand how they can, deploy technology solutions to solve most of the problems that they have, while also provide them insight in terms of climate change issues. So that is what we try to achieve with the World Food Tracker platform. We're going to put the link in the chat, so if you've not engaged with it, we encourage you to engage with it and be able to explore that. I know there's not your remit, Anna, so I'll just go to Sky and see if Sky wants to say something, but you can say no, we can move on to the next thing if you don't have any.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Fantastic. I think Bronson did a good job on the question. So, okay. I think the next question is talking about fruit production and how we can maximizing value from fruit production. So I don't know if anybody wants to come in here and respond to that. I think this is mostly I would say probably the speakers don't have expertise in this area, because this is fruit production, and I know there are some people who are experts in having orchards for food production, and really how you could maximize the or deploy the use of technology to improve harvest, and also having this precision agriculture where you're able to lay out the farm in a way that you can maximize production and harvest in a more efficient way using technology solutions. So those are things that we they're very important to consider from the onset of your orchard farm, to see how you can use precision agriculture, how you can use a lot of automation in the process, and also how you can map out demand and supply in such a way that you have less of the waste. And I think one of the key things I did talk about in my presentation is about supply chain management, and rather than designing long shelf life products for for use of new produce, rather we'll be looking at how do we use surplus produce for long shelf life products, but more prioritizing local food production in terms of supplying fresh produce to the market. So that would be my feedback on that for anyone who did. I think Benjamin, you asked that question. I hope that provided you answer. So for me, the key takeaway is about automation, precision agriculture, planning your orchard in such a way that you think ahead of your harvest, you think ahead of your market, and you can deploy the necessary technology to help you achieve greater produce, as well as also reduce waste and also meet your market requirement. Okay, I think we'll move to the next question. Um, the question is from Bios Company Limited. Institution where agri-tech experts have groundbreaking and food sustainable innovation, but lack the financial backup to build and take it to market due to mentioned challenges. How can this problem be solved? I think I don't know if any of the speakers are having the background to answer the question, but I will say to you why they're thinking about the question. I'm sure they will have some contributions to make. Also, we do have a webinar called Financing a Sustainable Food System webinar, which we usually hold on December 5th, where we engage with regional development banks and other financial experts within the food sector. So this will be a very good webinar to ask questions on finances, because there are a number of sustainable finances being developed by regional development banks, and also some other commercial banks in collaboration to support stakeholders across the food system, so that we could deliver more for the food system. So with that said, I still want to throw it to the speakers if anybody wants to make any comment on that. Okay, great. I think probably I've answered the question, and please join us for the webinar on financing a sustainable food system. I can go into more details on that. So I think I'll just try to find the next question in the chat. Some very interesting comments. Feel free to go through that later, but let me just see if there's any other further question. Okay, with the high cost of food price globally, how can we boost the production of local food crops that will be safe, nutritious, and sustainable for easy access and affordable to customers? Does anybody want to go first? With the high cost of food price globally, how can we boost the production of local food crops that will be safe, nutritious, and sustainable for easy access and affordable to customers? Sky, do you want to go first?
I feel like I don't want to talk too much about the food aspect of it, because our focus really is on connecting the scientists and the farmers. So I really want to speak out of turn.
Okay, that's fine. Bronson, do you want to contribute to that?
I'll let Anna go.
I think what can I contribute, for example, if like to give the farmer this possibility where they can sell their products. For example, I know that many problems that they are faced in the when they the production process. For example, there are a lot of food losses because when they have to sell in the supermarket with the final retailer, uh, some of the products have the wrong shape and they are not acceptable for the customer. So, for example, there is this nice initiative in France where they are selling this, for example, the are rounded shape or carrot. They have this in the supermarket where they sell this, and then the farmer can generate some income. So the supermarket don't reject that. So I think it's a good initiative to emulate in other countries. They can help farmers to cope with this, to generate income as well, or to, for example, to use this sustainable practices, like for example, agroforestry systems where they have many byproducts when they can use trees like fruit trees, so where they can have this diverse range of product and they can sell it. They just don't focus in one.
Great point. I think looking into aesthetics of food and implication for food loss and waste is something that needs to be dealt with. And I think it's just helping customers and households to understand the value in terms of nutritional value of the food produce, which will also help them to effectively engage with the food rather than choosing just those ones who are more aesthetically appealing. And with that, I say thank you, Anna, for that contribution. I've got a question that's more specific to your presentation here. It says, can impurities be removed totally in biogas production for sustainable energy in the production of food system? I don't know if you have any response for that.
I don't understand the question correct. I mean, if it impurities regarding the stage, the last stage of the process, like.
Yes, I think they're talking about, for sustainable energy in the production of food systems. So I think usually you have a lot of impurities in the biogas, and you have to pass it through some cleaning to remove those impurities before you can then gasify it. So probably that's the question, and also the question could also relate to the application of the broth from the process on an application of that in the farm. What is the implication in terms of impurities? We talk a lot about microplastics and stuff. How do you mitigate that?
I mean, there could be, of course, some impurity because also biogas at the same time it produces some greenhouse gas emission. If you use a lifetime manure, then a bit of methane, and then also you use in the farm, then you can improve the soil, the nutrition of the soil. But at the same time, I mean, the impurity is less if you put like the manure directly in the soil. It's better to have the treatment in the biogas plant than to produce a clean energy. I mean, clean fuel, and at the same time a clean fertilizer. So there is will be always trace of impurity, but are less if you do it without biogas.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Anna, for that. I think Bronson, you did put something in the chat too, in the private chat about a message from Benjamin saying it's been a dangerous aspect. So I think it's saying that the biogas thing has been the dangerous aspect, the gas being a cankerworm in farm destruction. How can international organizations like UNIDO help local in eradicating this, especially in Africa, particularly Nigeria? So I don't know if you pick up that thing, but I think it's still very much connected to what you've answered already, in terms of issues with use of biogas and also application of nutrient, or rather the output from the digestate from the anaerobic digesters on farmland. So I know you've talked on it. I don't know if you want to relate that to how your organization is helping address that problem as the question was presented?
Well, I think for this specific one, it is mostly another unit that is dealing with this. So it's have to be addressed to the other division. So I can somehow connect you with that because we don't address specific about person. We just help the countries or provide this technical assistance so they can, for example, start biogas plant. So we do baseline study, feasibility study to see if the technology is fit in the country, and then we work with different organizations that are especially in the topic that develop then the project. So we just as UNIDO provide technical assistance, so how they can create it. So there are organizations involved in the process until the project is developed. So it's not only UNIDO, it's many others.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. I guess if I may touch on that, you need to do work with member states. So I think also in Anna's presentation, she shared a slide of the organizations, the Council for the Clean Cooking project, the Clean Cooking Council within the UNIDO. So I think that what they do is work with member states. So you can check out the slides, the organizations who are working in those different countries, and you can reach out to them to understand what they're doing and maybe how you can work with them. That would be my contribution to that. Just to move us ahead, so Sky, there have been a number of questions around. This is a fantastic project you're working on with Buffing, and people are asking questions: how can this be taken afar from the UK to other parts of the world? And I don't know if you have any answer to that. Please, you can come in.
Yeah, I think what a really important first step is to approach international funding associations for research. And a really important way of getting people together and creating that community is offering people something to work with you. We're offering money, but it doesn't have to be financial every time. And especially when you're getting these institutions funding you, it really does give you a lot of opportunity to delve into different projects.
Fantastic. I'm pleased that Anna is here from UNIDO, so probably we'll have to follow up with her and see what project we can do. Maybe not with her team directly, because I know that Buffing is focused on producers, but Anna is focused on consumer side of things, which is the beauty of the presentation we'll have today, because we actually covered from farm to fork. I know that Jens was focused on supply chain and how you can establish this circular food system within urban environments. And Bronson was nicely talking about a key aspect of the food system, which is about pollination, about the bees and how you can engage this. So I really love the variety and the diversity of the presentation. But I see, we've got Anna here, so we can follow up with Anna in terms of international partnerships. How could we look at the team who are working with producers, and how can we work with them to demonstrate some of the projects from Buffing internationally in other regions, especially where we can help the scale up industrial processes. And I think bringing that back to what Jens did say, it's not about scaling it to be large, but scaling it to be efficient and very sustainable. So you can still do things in small scale and build that capacity around the cities, rather than trying to look into more conventional, intense agricultural systems that continue to cause havoc for our health and also the environment. So I think with that we have covered some of the questions. There are a lot of comments, but I think we've picked on some of the key questions. And please do still feel free to drop your question if anything comes to mind. But I do have certain other questions I kind of want to get some insights from the speakers. So I think this applies to all of us. So in terms of delivering most of the presentations, we've seen some key projects, and I know that this key project comes with a lot of challenges, building the team and getting things going. So do you have like insights you can share around projects that have been successful and what really makes that successful, especially with building the team and getting things going? I will invite you to go first, Sky.
Yeah, so I think one of the really key aspects of this is making sure that you're staying really organized. It's very useful to have processes set in place. You need to have a team that you can rely and trust on, and then making sure that you're staying ahead of the grain, using every opportunity that comes up, events, social media, every type of communication is really important. And also not saying no to any opportunity that arises just because it wasn't in your original plan.
Yeah, very good point. Branson, do you have anything to say to that?
Yeah, I would say probably partnership is quite important internationally, and I think you can pick from actually what we are doing internationally, of course, with most of the SFN network. And one of the major things, like I would love like people to understand, is that, of course, Sky has already said, whereby then if you don't fit in something, I think you might not really work for you. Sometimes actually you might realize you're much closer to what is to be done as opposed to what you might think is not doable for you. Then also, last but not least, I think is feel free and be flexible to engage in different countries. I think that's one of the main challenge I think we've had globally. Most people sticking within their region or within their continent and not wanting to expand to look at other problems globally. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Branson. Anna, do you have any contribution to this?
Yes, I think one of the important things for project is the constantly monitoring. So you have accompanied the beneficiary to the whole process, and then this could then prevent if they have some challenges. You are there to help as well, and for example, look for the solution on time, because also it's important at the beginning to do, like we do, a baseline study to see if this technology fit in the country. This is the country had the potential, for example, to develop sugar industry, have the amount of feedstock for the production, for example, the biogas. So all of these factors are important for the success of the project, and also constantly, as Sky say, this promotion in social media as well, to have this networking with other partners that we can help each other and provide the right support to the countries.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna. So I think just touching a little bit on bioenergy, do you see a bit of conflict between growing food for human consumption and then growing food for bioenergy? And how do you see that being resolved or managed effectively?
The question is for me, sorry.
Yeah, for you, please.
Can you repeat it again?
No, I'm saying there's this conflict between growing food for human consumption, especially where we're facing a lot of food insecurity and we're having issues around food resilience. Growing food for human consumption, as well as also growing crops for bioenergy. What do you think about the conflict, and how do you think we can manage that, especially
Yeah.
when where we are promoting the use of bioethanol and also bioenergy for cooking as cooking gas?
So of course, our main goal is no compromise food security. So that's why we look at the mainly the waste of the, like like circular economy of the waste, like the molasses that can be used for bioethanol, and also at the same time we provide. I mean we have to, we first, that's why evaluate the country first have. Plenty of sugar cane to produce, or for example, cassava, and also once it's important that for the production to use marginal lands, so lands that are not compromised the food security. So we are looking always um, at at the food security, how to don't compromise the food production. So this always our main goal at the beginning. That's why we do this diagnostic study, where to place the crops. And there is the publication that I share in my slide. It's all about food security, the unlocking bioethanol, where there is a chapter that talks how food security, how the use of clean fuels don't compromise food security.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Anna, for touching on that. I think the other point I wanted to ask is, what are your thoughts around areas, especially in the developing countries, where there are a lot of natural gas existing? How is there any potential for supporting the rollout of this natural gas piped into houses to be a source of clean gas in a way that you can manage that, as well as also manage circularity of the waste, being able to use the food waste back into, because I'm just thinking where there isn't, if we're looking at circularity of the food system, where there isn't enough food waste to be used, and there's a gap in energy source, but there's also available natural gas, which is less environmental, it delivers less environmental impact compared to what is being used. Is there potential for that to be supported in terms of ensuring that that is properly rolled out in this region to support cooking in those regions?
Yeah, I mean, there is also many other options, like we have electric cooking that can be used, also solar cooker as well. We don't support or won't work with the LPG, so we are more focused in, because bioethanol then is to grow the sugar industry for them to create job opportunity and all of this. So we focus more in this bioenergy application, mostly bioethanol, also pellet, but now we are also in e-cooking as well. We are promoting the use of e-cooking, but mainly we are expanding. So, but no LPG, not.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Anna, for throwing light on that. I felt that's something to question that may also be in people's mind, that I should kind of highlight it and have that response from you. But it's fantastic presentations, fantastic discussion. Thank you so much for your insight. Just one last thing, one last question. I mean, I do appreciate that we do have different perspectives to our contribution within the food system. So I think that also brings a lot of diversity in the discussion. And based on that, I will appreciate if you can share your thoughts on where you see technology innovation going within the food system for the future. So I think with that, I can come to you, Sky. What are the technology innovations you're seeing coming through and delivering a lot of impact within the food system, and how do you see that evolving for the future? Thank you.
I think a really important key aspect of innovation that's happening at the moment is this movement to kind of accepting technology a lot more, even in AI and aspects like this. So if we're able to train it to be useful in modern day technology, it's not something to be scared of, I don't think, as long as we're able to train it and control it ourselves. But I think this is probably the future, is AI and robotics.
Wow, fantastic, Sky. I like the word you said, if we can train them and control them. The challenge is when we can't control them, but I hope we don't get there. I mean, I love technology innovation. I love AI. I love the potential for it, and I'm hoping that it will deliver the value for the food system. Do you want to go next, Bronson?
Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, one thing I would try to reference is initially back then, at some years back, we didn't have aeroplanes, and when they came on board, people used to be scared of flying on them because they're not sure, like, how could you fly on that? But eventually you embrace it. So what I'm just trying to say is, like, technology is inevitable in the current century, and whether we like it or not, we have to live by it. It's not the future, it's what is now. So we just have to capitalize it and know how to use it. But knowing humans as humans, I know it, like Sky said, we'll be able to control them.
Yeah, very good point. It's really good to kind of give us that, highlight that illustration about aeroplanes and the adoption. But I think the question is more like, what, unless you are concurring with Sky in terms of AI, do you have any other technology innovation you feel that is coming through and will deliver a lot of impact across the food system? That's where you
That was my
bouncing.
question. Oh,
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
I'm just saying, is it that you concur with Sky that the latest innovation is AI, and that is what you believe will create the most change across the food system? As if not, do you think there's any other technology innovation that is coming up and will have a lot of impact across the food system?
Yes, I would say supporting what she said about AI. And so, yeah, I don't want to dive deeper because AI is more of actually machine learning. It's the same thing. If you go back slightly a few years ago, it's actually about the mathematical models that we used to develop that. So it's just refinement of what has just been previous there. And as I said, it's the current situation in which we are is inevitable. And it's going to solve many things because sometimes I think we have a lot of knowledge out there, but you're not able to retain it because, of course, human we are skeptical to age and period of time in this world. But with AI being there constantly and permanent, I think that is the next game changer in revolutioning the food system and um, definitely actually as a broad angle. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure that you say exactly the technology innovation you're thinking of, and I'm glad you're seconding Sky. So I'll move on to Anna. Anna, what are your thoughts?
Yes, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, I'm
I got
saying
distracted.
I'm saying, we have a number of technology innovations that are coming through at the moment. Which of them do you think will drive most change within the food system in the future?
I think as far I presented, I think that this technology that I mentioned to use as a clean cooking fuel, because it's all, I mean, it's like a package that give income to farmers and prevent deforestation, reduce greenhouse gases emission. So I think the use of biogas, for example, clean cook stuff. So we cut and we help them to have energy access as well. So we tackle the issue energy access and the aspect of clean cooking.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I think renewable energy within the food system is very important. So, as much as we can engage and use some of this renewable energy, it will definitely drive a positive change within the food system. A lot of innovation around water reuse, water cycling is also very important. I did mention in my earlier keynote presentation about genomics, omics, and the importance of that in selecting the right traits for growing, and also making sure that we have diversity in our food production. But yeah, it's been fantastic to listen to your thoughts, to listen to the insights about your projects, and also listen to your responses to the questions. I think all the participants can agree that it's been a very important and very useful webinar, and people have been able to take away a lot from that. I think for the Global Agri-Food Entrepreneur Program, we continuously looking to expand the capacity, and please do engage with us on that and promote that across your platforms. We want to see a lot more people from across the world participating, supporting, and changing the food system for better. But yeah, at this point, I'll say thank you so much for joining us. We are very much on time, 16 hours GMT at the moment, and it's been great to have you all on board. And I do hope you have a great evening and a great week ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Well, that brings us to the end of the webinar today. I hope you have enjoyed that, and I do hope we stay engaged. We love to continue to work with you and partner with you in ensuring that more people have access to good food. With that, I wish you have a great time, and let's stay in touch. Thank you very much.